Good morning. I wanted to explain basically how to install the universal weapon rack base and intermediate universal shelf into the 84-inch weapon rack to kind of clear up some of the issues with how weapons fit, how to put them in and out, and what options you have for accessories when you put your weapons in. So the first thing, the universal base and the first support rail basically gets put in the same position you would in a 45-inch rack when you're mounting M16s or M4s. So check your installation manual for the position of the rail. Then when you're using the intermediate shelf, this is the shelf support, the side support, and this will get put in the 28th hole position on the left-hand side, or if you're counting all the way to the top, it'll be the 36th hole position. Once you've installed both side supports for the intermediate shelf, then you can go ahead and place the universal shelf into the brackets. Essentially, it'll just slide into place. If you hook it on one side or the other first, and then hook it on the opposite side next, and then the shelf should slide into position. On the bottom of the bracket and the shelf, there are 6 holes, 3 on each side, and you'll use the same screws that you fasten the support rail or the barrel supports, and they get screwed right into the bottom of the shelf, and that'll keep it into position. I'm not doing that for this demonstration. Once you get the shelf in place, then you want to put your stock cups in. I'm only going to put 1 pair on the bottom and 1 pair on the top. The support rail on the top is already in position, and then you can start installing your weapons. On the bottom, you basically want to install the weapon with the stock first, and then rest it into the barrel supports. And we'll show you later the clearances that we have. But then on the top, you have the same situation where you install the stock first, you angle it in, and then you tip it back into the barrel support. Now, when you're going to take the weapon out, the issue that occurred was that the Marines were having a hard time getting the weapons out. So when you take the weapon out, you just can't lift it. You can't lift it straight up and down because it interferes with the top of the rack. You have to pull the weapon towards you and then angle it out, and that's the difference. Is you have to be able to put the stock in first, angle, and then tilt it back into position. I know it's a little more difficult. You just can't grab and go, but it's a tight fit, and I'll show you an alternative accessory that you can use to make them fit a little bit better if you have different weapons. So here we're doing a close-up to show you the clearance from the bottom of the shelf to the top of the weapon on an M16, and you can see that there is enough room where you can slide it straight up and out of the stock cup. Now if you go to the top of the rack, you can see at the top
behind the iron curtain
the room that we have for clearance of the weapon. So in this situation, you have to tilt the top of the weapon out and then angle it towards you and pull it out. Okay. I also wanted to show what it would be like if you had other weapons next to it. It depends on whether or not you have the handle grip or whether your optical sight is here. You do have to, like I said, you have to tilt it to pull it out. So it'd be a tilt out, kind of like that. If there's a larger sight on it, you may have to move one slightly over to get the other one out. And again, I know it's a little more inconvenient, but density is the issue, and if that's a real concern with the individuals, then you have to go to the half shelf. For longer weapons, we have the intermediate half shelf, and there's a cutout and a half width shelf that allows you to put longer weapons in behind one another. So this is the side support. On the full shelf, we installed it at the 36 hole position, and with the half shelf, you can drop it down however many you need. I'm going to drop this one down to the 34th position. By dropping it to the 34th position, I essentially drop the shelf 3 inches. This is the intermediate half shelf, base 10, similar to the base 10 base support that goes on the bottom, except for its half depth. Again, clip it in on the one side, and then slide it into the slot on the other. And again, there's instead of 3 fasteners, there's 2 fasteners on the bottom on each side that you can use to secure the shelf. When you're using this type of shelf, because you dropped it 3 inches, you can't just set the weapon in. You have to, again, put the barrel tip in first to the support, to the stock support, or to the barrel support, and then rest it into the stock support. So the barrel's actually behind the shelf. Then when you want to take it out, you have to lift it up, pull the stock out, and then pull the barrel out. On the top, you can put it in a traditional manner where you just lay it in place. So those are the two options you have for mounting M16's 2-tier. The full shelf, obviously, there's a little less room. The half shelf, you have more room, but you have a little more technique in putting the bottom weapon in. Just wanted to get a closer view of what the clearance is for the weapon when you're using the half shelf. So taking a view from the top and you're trying to take the weapon out, you can see how the barrel comes in and out from behind the half shelf. Now we'll take a view from the bottom and you can get an idea of how much clearance or room there is. So the weapon comes in and out. You do have to be aware of what type of weapon. So if it's not an M16, but if it's an AK-47 or another weapon like that has a sight that's closer to the tip of the barrel, you have to make sure that sight may interfere with the back of the shelf. So it just really depends on the type of weapon.